we're a shared workspace, a networking community for entrepreneurs and small business owners, and we're also a place that promotes business growth and gives businesses a nice way to connect with the community and their customers. This year, our main block of programs is called Elevate, and through that, we're working to develop the startup ecosystem in Shreveport-Bossier and also grow existing small businesses and startups. And one component of that is 1 Million Cups, which is a program sponsored by the Kauffman Foundation. And our goal with that program is to introduce these up-and-coming startups to the world and to grow the startup community, which in the Shreveport-Bossier area. And so our first speaker, Ross Barrett, is a local venture capitalist, and he is a COHAB board member, and he's going to tell you about the Kauffman Foundation and about 1 Million Cups.
Thanks so much. It's a pleasure to be here today. In fact, I get a lot of satisfaction out of seeing such a big crowd. I started my first company about 15 years ago, and entrepreneurship is really in my blood. But I've learned so much from the people who helped me over the years, and the Kauffman Center is that help. The Kauffman Center for Entrepreneurship is one of the global leaders in best practices for entrepreneurship. I actually went to their website and wrote it down. They said that their goal is to build community entrepreneurs that revitalize, empower, and grow a community. So revitalize, empower, and grow. Those are lofty goals, but how do you do it? Well, you do it through this 1 Million Cups program. Fortunately, we have a great facility with COHAB here. Stewart and I, Ken, some of the other guys sit on the board here. And our passion is to work with the City of Shreveport in a regional way, the Caddo Parish Commission, Greater Bossier Economic Development Foundation. Everyone has come together to support this. Anika Credit Union is a sponsor. At any rate, it's a regional collaboration where best practices can be taught. Best practices don't only come from Kansas City and the Kauffman Center, but they're homegrown. They're homegrown in entrepreneurs like Stewart Hamel. Stewart is someone that I really admire because he takes his own capital and he takes an idea and he's brought it from an idea that we talked about just a couple of years ago to a manufactured product, which is manufactured here in Louisiana. And that's not only good for Shreveport, it's not only good for Louisiana, but that's good for the United States. The backbone of the United States is built on entrepreneurs like Stewart. And thanks to the Kauffman Center and the 1 Million Cups program, we're now able to utilize the benefits of Stewart's experience, but not only Stewart's experience, but the other networks throughout the program. So I'm thrilled to be part of this 1 Million Cups program. Thank you for your support of COHAB, and we'll get started.
So what is SkyRunner? SkyRunner is part all-terrain dune buggy. It's part light sport aircraft. So what we're doing is building very sexy, high-performance AVTs that fly. But it never started really as a solution to a problem. We weren't trying to solve a logistics problem or an aviation problem. And the story is interesting because it began as a toy. And this is me about 3 years ago. I came across this product, and I really had to have this product. So I fell in love with it, and I flew over to England. I met some British guys. Fantastic. I was so impressed with them and the product that I took a page out of Victor Cayenne's life story. I borrowed it a bit. So what do? I buy the company. Well, actually, I fund the company, build the manufacturing right, have the manufacturing rights and the distribution rights to sell this to 3 of the 6 continents, developable continents. But I think the real theme here, since we're not trying to solve a problem, which is very unusual when I'm starting a company, I'm looking, can we solve a problem and can we scale that problem very quickly? Now, this started off as a toy. But what's going to make this very successful and where we've gotten very lucky is listening to the market. The market will tell you what to do. Pay attention to the market, because 90% of where we're going now, for 2 years, I never would have seen this coming. So the theme being listen to the market. So November last year, we do a soft launch. And what that means is, okay, we're waiting on certain approvals with the FAA. So we're going to unveil this to the world, say, hey, this is coming. You can put your order in and have, you'll be one of the first in line. You can buy your place in line and have this end of 2014 and so on 2015. So we go to Fort Lauderdale. Why Fort Lauderdale? Why a boat show? This is not a boat. Well, if you have a Venn diagram, think of the end user as people that have a lot of discretionary capital. And what do they like? They like toys. So our hypothesis, we just want to test this in the lean startup kind of way. So we take it there, we give out 75 deposit agreements, we take some orders, and some people wanted 4 of these things. I mean, it just blew us away. We had people from Colombia that would say, hey, we want exclusive rights to our country, but for the military. So I'm like, well, what do you want to use it for? Well, no concern of yours, but we'll buy X amount a year. I said, okay, fair enough. So then what happens after that? We've done no marketing. CNN shows up. Top Gear writes a story day one of the boat show. Wired Magazine, Military Channel, Fox News, Gizmodo. 4.5 months later, we have 56,000 Facebook fans. And a friend of mine called me. He said, Stewart, hey, do you know what you're doing like with this Facebook marketing stuff? Do you know what you're doing? I'm like, no, I have no clue what I'm doing. But I find it very validating that we have so many Facebook fans. So let's talk about the product. The advantages of a powered parachute. I'm a pilot. What I respect about powered parachutes is not their speed, but they're inherently stable, they're resistant to stalls, and they maintain one of the best safety records in aviation. So there's always inherent risk when you're going in the air, but that's worth noting. They're very, very simple. They're simple to fly. They're very easy. They have 2 input controls. It's pitch and roll, which means you go up, down, left, and right. But there's no yaw, which adds to the fun and pure enjoyment of flight. This is the first time I fell in love with aviation, and it's cool that it happened to be my product. Flying a Cessna, you're always fooling around with something. You're talking to ground, you're getting approved, you're going to tower, you're going to departure, they're flipping you over to somebody else. And you're always, toggling with controls in the cockpit. It's very low maintenance. You need no ground crew to maintain this. You can fly year-round, weather permitting. And training takes about a week to about 12 hours of flight training. So very easy to get trained and get certified, which would fall, you don't have to have a full pilot's license. It's called a light sport pilot license. So here's a closer representation to the final product that we'll be shipping out. Has anybody seen the videos? I'll do sort of a choose your own adventure. Do y'all want to see a video real quick of it taking off or landing with a little bit of flight? Take off? Take off? Okay, here we go. And here we don't go. Is it perhaps an internet? We're connected here. Tell you what, we'll come back to that while it's thinking. That's too bad. Okay, I'm going to give you an analogy of the product. This is really cool. So we're talking, we're talking about design, and we're trying to solve some aesthetic problems and how we're going to build the body panels and who's going to do the molding and the chassis is changing. So think of SkyRunner is to ATVs as software is to hardware. And this was sort of a eureka moment we had. So check this out, like your cell phone. Your cell phone, you have your hardware, wherever my cell phone is, and then you have the software and accessories. You can change the accessories out all around the phone, and you can change out apps, upgrades, software updates. So the hardware is unchanging, it's fixed, it's constant, but it's very important. The chassis doesn't need to change, but everything around it can. So the body panels, you want a different color? We'll have design competitions. We'll pay someone $5,000, here's the weight of this panel. So whoever makes the coolest panel, okay? So you don't have to go buy a new car. You buy all new body panels. So every 2 years, you can have a brand new looking car. You break anything, we drop ship you the panel. The steering wheel, the software that monitors the engine, it gives you your flight characteristics, where you are. The FAA has an app that it's approved, shows you what airspace you're in. All of that can be changed very simply without spending a lot of money on a new car. So as a metaphor, I can't think of a better metaphor than really, human freedom. I mean, since cavemen have been scratching on walls, who hasn't dreamed of flight? And I tell you what, that is, to be rumbling down the road and all of a sudden get lift and then be able to go wherever you want to go is a remarkable experience. So I'm not only the test pilot, I'm the CEO too. So we'll come back to all the flying. So is there a market? That's important. So we got a product, and I can tell you all about a really neat product and a neat toy, but is there a market? So before I did sink a bunch of money, I went and investigated this. But light sport aviation is one of the fastest growing, largest segments of the American general aviation market. It's a good sign. There's a little more data to back all that up, but we're playing in the right field. So listening to the market, this is so key, because again, 90% of where we're going now, I've thrown away the business plan twice. I mean, nowhere near. Military calls, says, hey, we want to, no, I'm trying to talk the guy out. You don't want this. He's a military contractor. You don't want to get shot, doing 55 miles an hour. No, we can do observation reconnaissance. We can do this. We can do extraction. So that's fantastic. So after about the 5th military contractor called, and by the 2nd month, I started scratching my head and thought, well, maybe we should investigate this a little more. Sport and recreation, that's where I saw it. That was the only thing I saw valid in the business plan. Then when people were coming to me, border security, utility companies, ranchers, people that had a lot of land, they wanted logistical options. How do I get around my land to do it quickly? But once it starts solving a problem, when you have a finite amount of money and you want to do more with less, like a helicopter, pipelines, we're spending $1,500 an hour on helicopters. What does that cost an hour on? 100, 150? I mean, if you're doing 1,000 sorties a year, you're talking about a lot of money. All that profit. So the reason of why is very interesting. From sort of a fun and adventure, right, to self-preservation. When I say that, preppers. I had no idea there was 3 million preppers. I've been getting calls from preppers all over. He's like, this is the ultimate bug-out vehicle. I'm typing out, what's a bug-out vehicle? I've never heard of that. So, but when it starts solving dollars, you want to maximize your budget, or you want to make more profits. That's a big why of now buying something that's really a low-cost, low-maintenance aviation asset. So here are the end users, the adventurers, the aviation enthusiasts over in the yellow. That's the only thing I nailed. Large landowners, ranchers, preppers, emergency medical. Once the military said, hey, we wanted to use this for disaster response, emergency medical, I'm talking to a hospital. They said, hey, talk to our pilot. And they're like, well, hey, if it's good enough for the military, it's good enough for us. That added credibility. Aerial survey. We've had a lot of films call us. They either want it in the film or they want to use it for high-speed pursuit, attaching cameras to it. Military, DOD, disaster response. The other in the peach is like, well, if it works there, maybe it would work. So now we're starting to develop hypotheses to new markets. Search and rescue. I can't think of anything more perfect than search and rescue. But we haven't directly contacted. We haven't started the sales process yet. Border security seems like a no-brainer. Park rangers, police agencies. So that really concludes the presentation. We'll come back and see if we can get the video to show. But I'll leave you with this quote. I started laughing. I came across this a while back. Both optimists and pessimists contribute to our society. The optimist invents the airplane, and the pessimist, the parachute. And I was shaving the next morning, I started laughing. I was like, I think we just became the pragmatist.